مساء الخير وأهلا وسهلا بكم في آخر جلسات اليوم.
Welcome to the last session on the first day of ARIJ annual meeting for the 17th time. We celebrate the 10th awards nominated and will be announced on Sunday, the 8th of December for the year 2024. We wait eagerly to know the investigations that will win. However, all of you are winners in our eyes, even though if you are not even though if you're not shortlisted, your cases and your efforts to come out with investigations that achieve an impact and the difference is the most important achievement and winning. I'm very happy. I'm Samia, the communication officer in ARIJ. I'm very delighted to be with you today, to which we talk together with those shortlisted finalists. So, from officials in taking a French uh, on the port of Beirut for the violations of the list and the laws in Lebanon. That is an investigation for Abdessamar Samir, the journalist, and Jamil Saleh, and a number of journalists from Lebanon to a release for Asad al-Zalzali, the journalist who declared Iraqi prisoners who are imprisoned for a long time, even though that their sentence have stopped without any legal suspension, to move the last sailing for a salt vessel for the journalist Sami Labousi, who declares um, who declared the sinking of of a ship or a vessel internationally and the Middle Sea, and also for funding
for the journalist Sam Harris that talks about progress and Egypt the features of presidential projects in Egypt and empowering those who do not fulfill the requirements of financing. Meanwhile, there's shortcoming from the authorities. And from the journalist Aude and his colleague under the title of The Dollars Open the Rafah Checkpoint. It tells the story of a bargain on life and the bargaining on the life of those who want to get out of the Gaza strip in exchange of outrageous amounts of money. Then we have Sudan in the war between the earth and heaven. How the track of this war is going for the journalist Ala Abu Talib. He speaks about the sources of financing of the rapid response forces and the Sudani uh, army, and how did that cause the expansion of the war in Sudan. And from Iraq, we have the investigation in wait of slow death, stories of facing poverty and sickness for the journalist Muhammad al-Sudani, who sees the reason of women dying because of working in contaminated areas. And the investigation about Syrian sailors who were abandoned in their on their ships for years by Mohammed Basiki and Ali Ibrahim and Ahmed Haj Hamdo and Mahmoud Nafakh and Dirk Thompson and Bonaro from Rice Project from Romania. It covers complicated networks of companies that allows companies to continue their operations in the sea, avoiding all types of legal accountability, and those who pay for it are the sailors. And we go back to to Egypt. Um, Real estate developers and Hisham Mustafa are the ones who win the most from these projects. It's an investigation of Noura Youssef, and this is a pseudonym. It talks about how those real estaters, both Egyptian and Arab, from amendments on the allocation in Egypt. And last but not least, we go to Morocco with an investigation about cement eating up the forests of Morocco. It tackles the impact of forest fires and the accountability of the government in their programs of protection of forests. That was the last of the investigations that reached our court list this year. And as we said, it's going to be declared in the last day of ARIJ Forum for this year. This session is dedicated to listen to the journalists who worked on those investigations, to hear from them about the investigations, how it was brought by, and the challenges that they faced, and the impact that they wish to see one day. Of course, I will ask all the journalists who were shortlisted to go to the microphones that we have in the center of the room, and I will ask. We sent you beforehand the order of names, and we have also two colleagues online, as our colleague Asad Zazali and our colleague Ode, they're with us online. And let's start from Beirut, Lebanon. I'd like to ask our colleague Isam Latif and our colleague Jamil Saleh to head to the mics so we hear from them. Uh, so you tell us the story of this investigation, the challenges, the impact, and anything you would like to tell us, you would like to share with our audience. And we will try to say what we have in 3 minutes if possible.
Thank you, Samia. Thank you, everybody. In the morning, the investigation, as we have said, we have worked on the tender that took place, through which a French company dominated the reconstruction of Beirut port after the bomb of the 4th of August. We have started to speak about the reconstruction. With this tender, we have seen the domination, if you want to call it, that is illegal, about the number of violations that were stipulated. We have listed these violations after we have discussed them, from some with the legal terms, even though with our field visits that have confirmed that this French company, owned by the two brothers Saada, that they are close to Emmanuel Macron, the French president, and that they have got this auction in a way that is illegal and contrary to the law. Well, this we have started on this investigation, and in the end of 2022, me and my colleague Isamar and a number of journalists who were with us in Lebanon, we salute all of them for their efforts in this investigation. And I'll give my colleague the word now. While standing here is a bit tensed, and the port of Beirut investigation, it is forbidden to speak about in Lebanon. ARIJ is one of the institutions, the journalistic journalism, that have literally the only one that have allowed us to speak about this event. Munir and Bisan al-Sheikh know how much we have exerted the efforts to find a partner to publish this investigation with ARIJ, because it was considered among the investigations that we are not allowed to speak about it, especially that is a media funded institution that is the as GM, and as you know, the privatization that have tackled many numbers of political officials. In this investigation, we have nothing to add to what my colleague Jamil have said, but I want to say in a nutshell about what is the impact that it has left behind. This investigation in the first place had lots of repercussions. I've left my work. Well, I wanted to apply for my resignation, but the French company have asked me through my work. It was a PR for them. The nature of the situation did not allow me. We faced lots of seizing of this investigation, but after the review with ARIJ, we said that we could continue with that. This investigation was able to stop a similar tender in Tripoli port that I have followed up upon it, and it is nature that I did not find a way to publish it. So therefore, we have found a platform to publish it, but this auction have been suspended because they considered this auction as it is a legal report, and it had a massive impact that we were able to do, noting that the danger that was at risk in Beirut port is the same now in Tripoli port, and it is at risk that this would be repeated in the north. What happened in Beirut, the capital Beirut? Well, there isn't any people listening, and the journalists who are working on such investigations are being terrorized and excluded and dismissed from their work. Thank you, Isamar. Thank you, Jamil. And of course, we salute all of the Lebanese journalists who have participated in this investigation. Now we go to the digital space to hear our colleague Asad Zalzali to speak with us about his investigation. Asad, are you with us?
نعم سامية، يعني هي التحقيق استمر من أشهر طويلة وكانت
We worked on the investigation for months, and we faced some challenges, and it created a big impact. The difficulties we faced were accessing the resources, those who were in the prison or outside. Even if those prisoners were released, there were thousands were still in prison. I'm so sorry, it's breaking off. I'm so sorry.
نتواصل تليفونيا مع الزملاء الموجودين داخل السجن نستطيع ان نحصل على شهادات، وبالتالي الاثر المهم هي انه مباشره بعد عرض التحقيق وبعد نشره وارسال نسخته الى رئاسه الوزراء، رئاسه الجمهوريه وحتى وزاره العدل، تم يعني اطلاق سراح بعد ايام قليله.
A few days later, some of the prisoners that we met throughout the investigation were released directly and immediately, and the Iraqi presidency launched an initiative to release any detainees whose sentences were suspended this year. They released 15,000 detainees who had exceeded their sentences. They exceeded their time. The most difficult thing was to reach those prisoners. We even convinced the prison guards to talk and to appear with their real faces and voices to tell about those networks, so the story would be clear and out in the open. No good deed goes unpunished. One of my family members who worked in the Ministry of Justice, he was investigated, and now he's on leave for 5 years, an obligatory leave. But the impact of this investigation had led to the release of 5,000 people. And it was the first media outlet to talk about this issue in Iraq. No other outlets before had spoken about those belated sentences. I'm sorry for the quality of my connection.
شكرا لك أسعد وشكرا على انضمامك.
Thank you, Asad, and thank you for talking to us, and hopefully you will stay with us. Best of luck in the awards. Now I invite our colleague Sameh to talk to us about his investigation. Go ahead, Sameh.
Good evening. the 26th of November 2023 in Asia, on the borders of Greece, a cargo vessel that was carrying salt drowned. This track was going to Istanbul. This vessel, all of the crew have sank instead of one person. After reaching the hospital, it is declared a very important part of the path of the vessel. It was going to Ukraine and not to Istanbul. After this was declared in the Greek journalism, we have worked on this navigation company, the cargo shipment. We have worked on it, and we have discovered a large market of damaged vessels that are sold in the black market, exploited by these navigation companies. And because they are cheap, they operate these tankers for long years. And unfortunately, we have taken this company as a part of this investigations. We have discovered that it had three vessels with the same formation, but the last vessel that sank and was lost, and all of the crew have sank. So the main hypothesis for the investigation is related to the business of these damaged vessels and exploiting this business to put the life of these sailors at risk with the failure of control over these ships. Thank you. Good luck with your award. And now I call my colleague, the journalist Samah Ghaith, to tell us also about his investigation, about the challenges, the impact, the concept, and all of what he wants to share about this investigation.
Has unveiled corruption in the local development ministry of agriculture. This corruption involved persons and brokers. This has caused the waste of public funds, and in the year 2021, after the national initiative was launched, the officials in the Ministry of Development spoke about the loss of 820 million Egyptian pounds. One of the MPs inquired about the people who benefited from this initiative, and until we published the investigation, this inquiry was not answered. We also spoke about corruption in the Ministry of Agriculture. They provided funding to persons without actually having any projects. The investigation contributed to changing the requirements for financing. Thank you, Sameh, and the best of luck to you in the award. Let's go back to the Zoom call. We're going to talk to our colleague Dia Aoude. You're most welcome, Dia. Most welcome, Samia. We would like to hear about your story.
شكرا سامية.
Thank you, Samia.
اللي عملت عليه
My investigation is the dollar opens the checkpoint of Rafah. It was supposed to be a checkpoint that gives hope to the people of Palestine in Gaza, but it became an area of suffering. There is an organized network of corruption. Those are companies in Egypt, and they control the access of Palestinians to Egypt. They take advantage of them, and they're faced with death if they do not get to cross their checkpoint. So this company is under the ARIJ group, owned by a businessman who has good connections with the presidency in Egypt. it is highly expensive to add the name of one person to cross the checkpoint. It starts from $3,000. It went up to $5,000. And when we were approving our hypothesis, it reached up to $6,000 and $7,000. And it also includes the brokering costs that happened in front of the company. We spoke to five persons from Gaza Strip: Farah, Hassan, Hussein, Ammar. Their testimonies, in their testimonies, they said that they had to pay a huge amount of money to take out their family members from Gaza. At these testimonies, we got documents from this regarding this company, and we got some recordings that support our hypothesis, and this is why we decided to make a video version of the investigation that was shown on Al Hurra channel. We also in the investigation, we followed up on flights and travels. We saw that on their pages. We saw the big the amount that were paid to their brokers. The testimonies and the documents showed that corruption was the motor to this company. Its work model depends on money in exchange of suffering or over suffering, and it covers until March when we published the investigation. So the investigation had proven that this checkpoint that is supposed to be a humanitarian window, that in the first 5 months and afterwards, it became a place of taking advantage of Palestinians. It was under the name of Hala, which means welcome, but actually it was so manipulative. The investigation supported the Palestinians and supported their resilience, and it also shows the importance of investigative journalism and dismantling the corruption networks.
شكرا لك ضياء.
Thank you, Dia. Thank you for being with us. Please stay with us through the Zoom. Now I call our colleague Abdulrahman Abu Talib to tell us about an investigation, this investigation that was translated into 10 languages. Yes, Abdulrahman. Well, yes, this is 3 weeks of constant work through which we were able, in the end, to prove and document what took place in Sudan of the abuse of the drone through the two conflicting parties, the SWAT and also the Sudanese army, and they've managed to expand the war, and they have targeted people, and this caused the death and the injury of many civilians, many people that they would not be able to work, and that was caused lots of difficulty on the investigators. Well, in fact, this investigation did not only work on documenting the videos that were published on the means of social media or the open sources, but also it had included testimonies from victims and those who were affected by these attacks, by these drones. Well, reaching the victims was among the challenges in this investigation, because communicating with the Sudanese and on the ground is very difficult because of the lack of the communication or the internet disruption in many places. But eventually we were able to communicate with some of the survivors who have arrived to Egypt, including the impact that we have achieved by this investigation. that there was eagerness so that the people know documented issues about what is happening in Sudan with the difficulty of accessing the journalists to many of these places. Eventually, this investigation was published in more than 10 languages, as you have mentioned. It arrived to Arabic to millions of views, and even though with the difficulty of the internet, but there was eagerness to reach this documented investigation. Thank you. God bless you with the award. Now I call Mr. Muhammad Al-Sudani to tell us about an investigation about the women in Iraq. Hello, Samia. Hello, everybody. This about the slow death stories of women who became ill because of the bricks factory, and the situation of the environment is not only related to one place. Well, the situation is applied to all of the countries, especially after the climate or the environmental conference in Paris, where 200 countries have attended and many of the agreements. And this have found one place that more than 370 factories that are officially registered, apart from the unofficially registered factories, and even more, that are operating with the remnants of the fuel that are taken from the black oil. This is a material that is burnt. So to make bricks, so they use this material to produce bricks, and to prove this impact and this pollution, we have went to the place more than 6 or 7 times, and we have placed devices in many of places with the coordination with specialists and experts in the domain, in the environmental domain. These devices have allocated the numbers of the remnants with the high differences through this 6 or 7 times or days of our visit. There were problems in the device or in the respiratory device. We have taken a while to get treatment from this issue only by visiting 6 or 7 times. So how about the families or the women who are working in these factories, and they are living in that? This is their place of residence and place of work. So can you imagine the pollution that these women are subjected to on their days, and they are living in this place? The impact of this situation, there were rapid responses, especially for the child Fatima. She had to have procedures in some of the departments or units, so that she received some facilitations. And what is most important, that there are some procedures officially published to close some of these factories that are violating the law, and lots of decisions were issued, and also some of the institutions and colleagues and journalists have also communicated with us to work on the same subject, to cover it through different ideas relating documentaries and stories and so on. Thank you very much. Our colleague Muhammad Al-Sudani.
Let's go to Syria to talk about an important investigation that was produced by a group of journalists. Ali Al Ibrahim is one of the members of the team that produced this investigation. And thank you, Muhammad, and best of luck in the award. Thanks to the team that that took time to prove the hypothesis of the investigation. I am happy that most of the shortlisted investigations, they had a clear impact, and this is the purpose of investigative journalism. As for our investigation, by the end of May 2023, we received pleas from sailors stuck in Masrata port in Libya. They were Syrians, Egyptians, and Indians. They were pleading that we take action, to tell the story of what was happening to them after they were stuck on an abandoned ship for a year. And this has made us uh, uh, look into the reality that led to abandoning those ships in abandoned ports. It turned out that there were various methods that the owners of these ships use. Most of them are owned by businessmen who have strong connections with authority through facade companies or registered in offshore countries. We found more than 1,200 ships that were abandoned in ports all over the world and leaving the sailors to their destiny. There were difficulties accessing or reaching those abandoned ports and documenting the lives of the sailors throughout a year, and we managed to overcome this difficulty by contacting with the sailors on daily basis. The good thing that after we published the investigations, the International Union of Sailors or seamen took the sailors off the ship and brought them back to their countries in Syria, Egypt, and India. And this is the purpose of investigative journalism, is to create change. Thank you. Thank you, Ali, and thanks to the team for working on this investigation. Best of luck in the word. And last but not the least, I want to invite our colleague Yasser Al to tell us about his investigation. And should mention that this investigation forms a part of the art gallery that we exposed last year in our forum. I will speak briefly about my investigation, the cement eating up the forests in Morocco. I'll speak about 3 points that were discovered by this investigation. First of all, it is based on data. I studied data journalism, and I'm proud of what the data journalists are achieving in this field. And here I would like to thank Mohammed Koumani, the trainer and the mentor, and Hajar Hisham. I learned a lot from you. The diploma changed the trajectory of my professional life. The investigation was in the context of huge forest fires in the summer of 2022. Unprecedented forest fires in 2022. That was the context of the investigation. The official data said that the most of the forest fires are registered under an anonymous name. So this invites everyone to eat up those forests and to construct in the in forestry areas. We had a deterioration in the forest areas. The ministry says that the deterioration of the forests is way much less than what we published in our investigation. There's a huge gap between the estimations, and by the way, there was no comment up till now from the official entities about what came or what was mentioned in the investigation. The investigation also unveiled that there is an increase of the forest fires, and what was burnt in 2022 is more than what was burnt in the last decade. Most of the fires take place in the northern part of the lands. It's very attractive for developers and for more and more construction and concrete. And we also used satellite satellite data, and we worked on this database that covered information for 10 years. The satellite pictures covered images of 10 years forest fires that occur in the same place, in the same area. So we discovered that after years of constant growth of concrete buildings on the forest areas, when there are repeated forest fires, then it turns out the area is developed. This is what we this is what we discovered in this investigation. In these areas, we have urbanizations or touristic projects. This is, as I told you, in the area of the Mediterranean and the Atlantic Ocean. Now, all investigators want to see the impact of their investigations. Unfortunately, until now, there were no comments from the official entities. Let's talk about the parliamentary inquiring the government about the content of this investigation, but they did not respond them, although they are obliged by law to respond to the inquiries in a month. The administration of water and forests had covered took down the dynamic map related to the forest fires and water that was published throughout 11 years. After our investigation was published, this update is no longer done. Now, positive impact. It came from abroad, as our colleague said. The Royal Academy of Arts turned the content of this investigation to an artistic exposition that was shown last year in ARIJ Forum this year. Now the investigation is published, and I'm hopeful that it will be republished and it will create the impact. Being shortlisted is enough for me, and hopefully it will create more impact. Thank you, Yasser. Thanks, and best of luck in the award. The last investigation was published under a pseudonym, so the journalists won't be able to be with us tonight. Thank
I would like to thank all that presented their investigations, the investigation from different Arab countries. I shall open the floor now for any questions. In case you had any questions, inquiries to the journalists that have presented their investigations. In case you had any additional questions, me personally, I have two questions, but I shall give the priority to the participants from the room to ask the questions. Also, if we have new journalists at the beginning of their professional career, students in the room, you can ask the question. It is a great opportunity to benefit from the long experiences of the journalists that are on the short list of the investigations. Anyone has a question? This is a very unique opportunity that will not be repeated. I cannot see if there is anybody from the jury. After we announce the prize, then you can ask whatever you want. Go ahead. Do you have a question? Good evening, everybody. Sami Alawi. I have a question, and any one of the colleagues can answer that question. After being nominated and you did not fulfill any of the first three ranks, how does it feel? It is nice to be nominated for the prize of ARIJ, but it's quite difficult at the end not to win the prize. Who would like to answer that question? Colleagues?
مرحبا ما جربنا الشعور بعد.
Well, we did not feel it yet. On Sunday at 8, we are supposed to meet 10 past 8. I can tell you how it feels. No, like I have mentioned, it is a fierce competition. Many or all the investigations are wonderful investigation. We read all the investigation, but this does not rule out that we are shortlisted. This is an achievement in itself, and of course. Only one thing will change is that the message which we wanted to shed the light on it, and we worked on it with the ARIJ, has been conveyed. If it did not create a huge difference in the world, at least ARIJ and the jury which have seen our investigation will give a push to the journalists and give them an incentive to continue, and there will be part 2 and part 3 and to look at the investigation from different angles. And like we have seen, there are investigations from different Arab countries, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Sudan. They have reached that shortlist, and this is added value for us and Arab journalists. Sameh, do you have another answer? Sameh and Sameh. I will tell Samia about my experience. Last year, I was also on the short list, but I was not among the first 3 winners. Just for you to reach the short list is an achievement in itself. The investigation has been read by over 500, 700 persons that are present here in that forum, whether online or in person. This itself, for me, is an achievement. What is important is that you have reached that level and you can continue. Maybe the next year you will win a prize or more. But the idea is that you were able to disseminate your idea among a large number of people, and you made the voices of many people who you defended heard by those people, by the participants. Sameh? I was nominated 4 times for a ARIJ Prize, and I have won 3 prizes. One of them I was also on the short list, but I did not win. And now, immediately after winning, I went to dinner, and I see that if the journalist did an excellent investigation and the investigation had a very big impact, the idea of not winning a prize, I don't think that it will affect him. One of my mentors, he said sometimes the prizes might spoil the journalist. If a certain journalist at the beginning of his career or her career obtained a prize, maybe this will make them delay in making a great investigation. Sameh? As a matter of fact, I am glad that I have reached this point. My investigation was not with ARIJ in the first place. I have done it with a platform called Masrawi, and so for me to reach the short list is a great honor for me, and I am quite happy, and congratulations for the winners. Thank you, Sameh. I do not know if our colleagues Asad and Diya are still with us. In case Asad, you would like to answer that question, or Diya? It is a nice experience to reach the short list. It means that you are still giving, but to win or not win, this does not make a big difference. The most important thing is that you have done your investigation, and you have revealed something about our lives of certain people. This is, I believe, the 5th time I am nominated to and be on the short list of ARIJ. We are in the school of ARIJ, and our prize is different from all the other prizes. And so ARIJ for us is extremely important. We are not, but of course, we all wish we can win. Any journalist will reach that point, wish to reach and win the first place. But for you to be on the short list shows that you have done some of the most important investigation in the Arab region. And this in itself is an incentive for the young journalists, which you have talked about. They can be creative, innovative in their investigations.
شكرا أسعد.
Thank you, Asad. Diya, I do not know if you have another answer to that question.
هلا هو أنا أول مرة يعني أول مرة
It is the first time I am nominated for a ARIJ prize, and the first time I reached the short list. This is what is important for me, the investigation which I have developed and the hypothesis which I have proven, and in particular that many people pay thousands of dollars has left an impact at the level of investigative journalists. And when ARIJ presents such kind of investigation and say that this investigation is among the 10 shortlisted, but this is more than enough for me. It is an investigation which I have worked on, and I am among the 10 top investigations. It is the first time I am nominated, but I have done investigations before, but I was not seeking any prizes for my investigation. But of course, being on a short list will be an incentive. The journalists sometimes take a certain pathway in journalism world, whether written, whether audio, visual. When you are nominated for a prize, then you need to develop different ideas. You need to be creative and look for different ideas in order to leave an impact.
شكرا لك ضياء. شكرا.
Thank you, Dia. Are there any other questions that you would like to ask our 9 nominees? And maybe this is an opportunity to thank the jury for their efforts in choosing the investigations, and also the classification committee that chose them out of 188 investigations that were sent to the jury afterward. I have a quick question before we finalize, which is the role of the story. What is the importance of the story or storytelling in your investigations? How did you build those stories side by side with the data and the sources and the support of your story? I don't know if there are stories that we can tell about storytelling in our investigations. If anyone would like to tell us their experience among the nominees, if anyone would like to share their experience. Isamar. On this investigation or other investigations that you worked on, generally speaking, if you have an answer, even if it's a general answer, we would like to hear from you. In this investigation, the information is heavy. We're talking about the economy and law, so we didn't have the luxury to have strong storytelling like I would like to do it usually. But there was storytelling because the material, as I said, is very heavy. We are talking about law articles. We are talking about the details of engineering contracts. Engineers study for 7 years to understand this. So for our ordinary reader, he won't be able to understand that. So in my meeting with Munir Al-Khatib, he said that the sequence of news and storytelling made me continue reading, and your story was not done yet. So go back to the team to see what we can add to the story. So I reached out to my colleague Jamil Saleh, and we looked into what we can add and our storytelling. And another experience with ARIJ, another investigation. I'm working on an investigation that will shortly be published, and hopefully it will be nominated next year. It's about the Filipino house workers in Lebanon and their experience in Lebanon. When we collected the data of more than 30 Filipino house workers in Lebanon, I suggested to the colleague Huda that we humanize the story. Huda loves this kind of stories, thank God. So because we're speaking about a marginalized group, a weak link, people who love drama, but you shouldn't always present drama. We can, in a humanized manner, we can direct them into the message that we would like to deliver, but in a way that they like to see. So we spoke about personal experiences of house workers in Lebanon, what they went through and where they found their power. So we created a balanced story. We didn't the story to be all tears and sorrow, and we presented a balanced story. Thank you. Muhammad, we would like to listen to you as well. There is the data and the information about the environment in our story. There's this child, Fatima, her picture in the investigation. When I interviewed her, when I spoke to her, I had this challenge between being a journalist and coming from a literature background. I wanted to describe and explain the story using descriptive and humanized language and focusing more on her. That was a challenge. More than 3 times I would revise this chapter because this girl, she's 16 years old, and she has respiratory illnesses, and because of that she had heart disease and she needed an operation. So her situation needed narrative, more storytelling, more description to show to show her story. So it was a short story that we managed to present at the beginning of our investigation, telling the story of Fatima. Thank you a lot, Mohammed. Is there anyone who would like to answer the question, Abdulrahman? As for my investigation, the protagonist of my story was a young man. His name was Abdullah. He lived in an area to the south of Khartoum. And Abdullah was in his house, and his neighbors were in their houses when the rapid response forces attacked them with drones. Those attacks bombed them with hundreds of bombs. He described it as a day similar of the end of the world, and the ceiling fell on top of them. And when they went outside, he saw that everyone was going out running like it's the Armageddon. And they went to Bur Sudan, which is an area that was supposed to be more secure. There were more developed drones that started reaching further areas. When I met Abdullah, he was in Egypt, but the rest of his family was still in Bur Sudan, and he spoke about his concerns. He said that he was worried about his family. He left them somewhere where he thought it was safe, but turned out that nowhere is safe anymore. And because their drones could go anywhere and they can target anyone easily. So having Abdullah in the story
Abdullah's speak more about a military action that they can negotiate or have political gains. No, the situation was not as this as all. They did not concentrate on this military details or about pictures or about bombs that are falling on these details in the military actions that was tackled at that or that would tackled by any person who will cover this story. No, it is about the people souls. People are losing their lives, families that are scattered and such things. The presence of Abdullah have benefited the narration of the story. We see Abdullah's house shelled. We see Abdullah is introducing is introduced to the type of the drone that have shelled his home. So this is an additional evidence for the use of these drones. So he's not only narrating the emotions of the story, but he's also given a proof. I have seen the drone that is of a color white carrying two shells. It has four angles. This is the shell that fell on my house. So he had the proof of his hypothesis of the investigation. Thank you, Abdurrahman Yasser. The narration, we have a challenge in this issue about the forest fires and the analysis of the data. We should search for a story. I went to the archives about the fires that were close to the homes. So there was a fire close to some of these holes or homes that have holes. So we've searched for the elected persons to the municipality that were related to this incident. I've reached to Fatima. Her husband died in the fire. He's about 70 years of age, and they were living close to the fire. They tried to put off the fire in a primitive way with their hands, and she was speaking about the Black Wednesday that they trying to put off the fire along with the numbers of the residents. But her husband remained amid the fire in the forest, and then the fires were put off, and he did not return. Then he found cold, so and fully burned. So this is one of the stories. So I'll give the last minute or two if my colleagues were online and Asad or Ziya who wants to respond to these questions. I don't know if they are still with us online. Samia? We were speaking about the narration. I don't know if we can quickly speak. How did you work of integrating narration in your investigations?
تمام. سامية هي هاي
This is the main thing that I have depended on. I've spoken to 5 Palestinians whom their families are inside Gaza. They were racing time. They were communicating with people everywhere, trying to find massive amounts of money. Each one of them have children, have wife, have families. Some of them had their parents, 3 siblings. They were searching for about $40,000 to get them out of Gaza to go to Egypt. So I have seen these testimonies. I've started to search for documents to prove the hypothesis of the investigation. So I have seen that humanizing this investigation is based on the agony and about the bargaining that targeted these people. So I've concentrated in the beginning of the investigation that I wanted to start with Ihsan, who was in Germany, and he have managed to get out his wife through Rafah. Through $8,000, Aisha was searching for an opportunity to get her father out. She paid $5,000, and this was proved $5,000. And also Ammar, who have left, and he tried to take his family out. To Hassan and Farah, who were in the United States, and they were trying and to publish links for donation, because they have big families to secure this money. So what I've seen is humanizing these investigations and concentrating on the stories have let the idea concentrate on the agony of these people. This will leave an impact. You are speaking about the misery of a person versus that you are proving that this entity or these are in charge of their suffering. This is very important to concentrate on.
شكرا شكرا ضياء.
Thank you, Dia. Asad, the last word is yours tonight about the narration.
يعني هي بصراحة أحيانا القصة تقودك أنت كصحفي وأحيانا أنت كصحفي.
Sometimes you are, as a journalist, you lead the story. I tend to have a balance between the emotions and the investigation because you are an investigative journalist. We always concentrate about the human aspect, but we don't turn a blind eye about the investigation. I try in this investigation to narrate several stories. We have spoken about the humanitarian aspect, but the idea is when we reach the prison, to reach a prison and meet the inmates. So we had to go to some of the inmates who have been subjected to violence in the prison. So therefore, we always tackle the humanitarian aspect, the emotional aspect. There should be a balance between you as an investigative journalist, what you have seen, what you have presented, and what you have proven about the misery of these people. This affects you, and this leads you with the emotional story. But eventually, you should have a balance to prove with the evidence what is happening, and this is the reason that the people are suffering from. Thank you, Asad. Thank you for all of the attendees. Thank you for all of the journalists who were with us, and they shortlisted for ARIJ. And of course, we will be announcing the winners in the end. So I believe this is the end of the first day.